standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Now, those of you who have been listening to the last couple of episodes, you might recognize something different. No, I don't have a new co-host yet. Chris sounds the same. Chris is still Chris. It's not a clone. I'm still Gene. I am not a clone, though some people might wish it were otherwise. But we have a new theme song. And the way we got this theme song is a gentleman named Roland, who is a fan of the show, said, I got an idea for a theme song for the Paracast. Would you listen to it? So Chris, Greg Bishop, Nick Redfern, myself, my wife, my son, we all listened to this theme. It is absolutely fabulous. So we want to thank Roland.
Thank you, Roland.
And his company is called Blue Sky Music. And he wants me to tell you, and I'm happy to say it, he does themes for movies, TV, and various media, so things like ads and stuff like that. And if you want to find more of what he does, it's blueskymusic.com. That's blueskymusic.com. A special thank you to Roland for the fabulous theme for the Paracast. Thank you, Roland. Now, some other developments with the Paracast. The last 2 episodes have had record download numbers. Now, for example, last week's show with Michael Esposito about EVP, a lot of discussion in the forums, lots of downloads. And the previous week, we had Anthony Sanchez. And therein lies a tale.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, tell us about Anthony Sanchez. What happened 2 days after that show was streamed?
Well, you know, it's hard not to equate his appearance on the Paracast with what happened the following, I think, Tuesday. He sent out a very cryptic email to a number of people, myself included, that said he was out of the field of ufology. His book was not going to be released, and not to contact him. Don't bother contacting him. Respect his privacy. And then, of course, this created a behind-the-scenes furor, I must say, amongst people who know him. And I did some checking around. I did end up talking with Norio Hayakawa, who's good friends with his, and basically the upshot ended up him having a real difficult personal crisis that happened. It was a family matter. He doesn't want, it discussed publicly, but needless to say, it was impactful enough so that he made this, I think, an ill-conceived decision to post this email, which kind of very rapid-fire fashion zipped around the internet. And
it became viral.
It became viral amongst people who are interested in his particular UFO highway project. And one of the things that I realized was that the guy, he's really not, I think, he's not prepared, I think, for some of the peripheral things that happened in this field. And perhaps that may have impacted his personal problem with his family and stuff, but I'm not here to judge him. I just feel that it was very ill-conceived on his part to then turn around 2 days after that and announce that the book was going to be put up for sale as an e-version, and that, oh no, he's back in the field, and it's almost like the little boy crying wolf, and to me it just really takes away whatever credibility he's been maintaining and attaining with his project. It really does put a shadow on it, and hopefully he'll be able to get through his personal difficulties and get himself back on track. But
it was very interesting here to see, though. We have this show on the Paracast where I think we kind of zinged him a couple of times because he was ill-prepared in some of his research. Made it very clear he's got some more work to do. And then quitting the field 2 days later, you think, hey, what did we do? We've done some pretty wacky things on the Paracast in nearly 5 years.
Yeah.
But, and sometimes with new co-hosts, people say, gee, you don't do that kind of thing anymore. And the answer is, yes, we do, but we don't preach about it. We just do it.
Yeah. There's no point in preaching. I've been talking to the choir for so long that there's no real point in it. And I know you feel the same way in that regard too, Gene.
Well, we felt, maybe we had this impact on this guy. He quit the field. Now, I know we all know what the family problem is. It's nothing that involves illness, and let's just leave it be because it's a personal issue. But I've had other people undergo similar family problems, and they don't quit all their work and stop talking to people for the rest of their lives as a result. Yeah. You have to get on. So 2 days later, he says, okay, here I am again. The book is going to be out in ebook form, which is fine. Hopefully there will be a printed version. I'm awaiting a link to a copy of the ebook version of UFO Highway so I could see what it's about and see whether he does answer some of the questions and concerns. But it looks to me like he couldn't have completely revised the book in 2 days or 4 days. So perhaps some of the inadequate research that we pointed to, well, it's still there.
Well, I think we should start a thread on the Paracast forum and do a guesstimate of how many e-copies of this he'll actually sell in the first month of it being out. I would say maybe 20.
Well, you know what? Maybe what happened to him will cause more people to want to go out and buy the book. But you know what? That's
it was an
kind
advertising
of,
campaign.
Yeah, that's kind of pushing it there. But if he doesn't push the book, he's not going to sell it because there are lots of books out there. And selling 20 or 30 copies, well, we're not insulting him. We're just saying, well, you know, that's what it is. If you don't have a major publisher behind you, don't have a lot of publicity, it's really hard to
It is. It's almost impossible.
Sure. I mean, you've had books put out by professional publishers, and it's really hard to get sales.
Yeah, well, St. Martin's Press did a very good job. I mean, they really did. And I went into 10 printings on my first book, so I can't complain. But it's really difficult. There's so much, noise out there. And zeroing in on the signal, I think, for people is becoming more and more difficult. And as a result, I think people tend to be a little gun-shy when they're spending their hard-earned cash on books and downloading e-books and that sort of thing. It's just getting harder and harder to really, create a name for yourself in this field as a bona fide serious researcher. And I think his appearance on the Paracast did indicate that maybe this book should he should hold off a little bit and do a little bit more work on it before just rushing it out in releasing it.
Maybe he needs an editor. Someone to edit the book, go through it, suggest him areas where it could be beefed up. Because that's one thing. I mean, I've written a lot of books. I've written over 30 books, mostly technology. And I know that I had to depend on copy editors, fact checkers, and everything else to make sure I did the good job that I wanted to do, because I don't think anybody can be their own editor.
No.
Not at all.
No, it's virtually impossible.
Now, today we segue back to the UFO field. And we've got a really straight-ahead guy. His name is Larry W. Bryant, and he doesn't go on shows very often. But understand, he is one of the classic whistleblowers in the UFO field, trying to get information about what the government knows, sending Freedom of Information requests. This guy has been doing it, I think, for 53 years now.
He's got quite a track record.
He started when he was 1 year old. We have to be fair about it. I don't want to say this guy's a very old man. Larry was 1 year of age, and he read a book from Major Donald Kehoe or something, and he said, you know what, I got to do this.
Jeez. I'll tell him you said that, Gene.
He'll be listening before we bring him on. He already knows. I have to say, I got interested in UFOs when I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before they even had anything that was flying, before they had the printed page, before they had TV, before they had even, making impressions in rocks, before they had rock books.
Your first real case that you were interested in was during the 1897 airship wave, then, is what it sounds like.
Well, the later cases. Of course, some people thinking of cases say, Gene is a mental case. And when people say that, I say, you know what? I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay, so we've got Larry Bryant, who's going to talk about lots of fascinating things about UFO today, about the state of the art, about exopolitics and other things. Coming up next, the co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA, from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, boating, tow line, shipyard, or decoration. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive a free 100 feet of 550 paracord. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
Go solar for cheap. Want to use solar power but the price is too high? Now you can build your own solar panels for less than $200 at 123cheapsolar.com. Don't laugh. We've sold over 45,000 solar do-it-yourself kits. Watch the step-by-step videos that even non-handyman types can use. We offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to 123cheapsolar.com or call 800-713-0486. 800-713-0486. Reduce your foreign oil dependency when you go green with 123cheapsolar.com.
In confusing times, would a simple outlook on health and beauty make sense?
If you're tired of taking dry vitamins without noticing any results, then the Bogdana Nutritional Formula is for you. Easy to take and absorb.
The absorption of liquids is 98% in comparison to only 20% for dry vitamins.
For the past 25 years, Bogdana Rejuvenating Nutritional Formula has been proven to get results.
Detox, nourish, and rejuvenate your body with this one-of-a-kind supplement that contains 150 natural and organic nutrients.
And a 1-month supply is less than $1 per day.
Take charge of your health and feel the difference with Bogdana Liquid Vitamins or your money back.
Go to BOGDANA liquidvitamins.com or call 1-800-234-5608.
That's BogdanaLiquidVitamins.com or call 800-234-5608. Give your body what it needs and it will perform miracles in return.
For inner health and outer beauty, feel the difference with Bogdana Liquid Vitamins today.
Tired of searching for great talk radio?
There's a wide range of stuff on here.
We are the GCN Radio Network. Genesis.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We're back with someone who doesn't go on the radio too much, or at least not recently, Larry W. Bryant. He's been following the UFO mystery for 53 years, which is longer than most of our listeners have been alive. And I was saying, Larry, before we joined us, and I should remind everybody our co-host is Chris O'Brien this week, but Larry, welcome to the Paracast. And I was kind of joking before we started that you got involved in UFO research when you were 1 year of age. Now, I assume it was somewhat later than that, right?
Actually, I think I was 19 at that time, and I sometimes think I still am 19 because there's always something newly inspiring to keep my interest alive in the field. So I'm 72.7 years old now, and I figure I have at least 7 years to go before I'm no longer productive.
Well, you sound very productive. We're always getting lots of emails from you about the things that you're doing. But what attracted you 53 years ago to the UFO mystery? A guy at the age of 19, maybe you're thinking of girls, you're thinking of your profession. Why UFOs?
Well, I still think of girls.
Don't tell your wife this, okay?
I'm no longer married. There's a high incidence of divorce in this field, as you probably have discerned yourself.
Well, I've done it twice, but I'm sticking with the second one.
All right, there you go. You know, when I was 19, that was 1957. June of 1957 was the date that the first issue of Flying Saucers magazine hit the newsstand. I still have that copy that I bought for 35 cents. It was published by a guy that you probably have a little reverence for, and that was Palmer, Ray Palmer.
I knew Ray Palmer personally, yes.
Ray opened the door to my thinking about the subject more than anything else. Of course, you know, back when George Adamski's first book came out, George Adamski claimed he had a direct contact with extraterrestrials flying around in saucers. That sparked my interest as well back in the mid-50s. So, but when I got my hands on and read practically every word of that Flying Saucers magazine from Ray Palmer's productions, that convinced me that there was some fertile field for the imagination, for serious intellectual inquiry, and for entertainment. And I'm in it, and have been in it, as I say, from that very day.
Now, quite often people who get involved in UFO research, very early on, they come to the conclusion that was prevailing, especially in the 50s, because of Major Donald Kehoe, that UFOs represented E.T. Is that the feeling you had then?
Is that the what?
That UFOs were manifestations of beings who came here from other planets.
That's what might be called the Occam's razor approach to the subject matter. There is definitely a paranormal approach to it if you consider the wealth of reported claims of contact by so-called contactees and abductees. And I don't disparage that because that's still part of the mystery. Are people being directly contacted worldwide by visiting astronauts from elsewhere? It's a question that needs to be answered. Some people think they have already answered it. I'm not so sure yet, and that's what, as I say, it keeps my interest alive. It's a great mystery that demands our serious attention. So Kehoe was right. Kehoe was right on two elements. That the evidence that he was collecting from insider military sources pointed to the extraterrestrial origin of some of the reported saucer sightings. And the other point he was right about was that the government was not telling us back in the 50s and 60s all that it knows about UFO reality. And those two prongs of my interest in the field are, as I say, is still impelling me to go forward with my own work. And my record is viewable in a microcosm. If you go to my weblog called http://UFO view, all one word, Posterous, POSTEROUS.com.
This is your site, Larry?
That's my weblog, yes. It's
okay,
been going
I'll tell you what we'll do. For the sake of our listeners, we'll make it easy. is that when we post the link to the show, when people see your name, they can click on your name. I'll have that set up shortly, and they'll go right to your blog.
Okay, and your viewers, your listeners, can, as they skim through that little blog of mine, they'll see samples of my published material, references to my books, and they'll get a flavor for what is this old guy now trying to do? Why doesn't he just throw up his hands and leave the field? Well, I don't work that way. Never have. When as I say, there's a mystery that such a compelling nature as this one, you have to stick it out to the end. You might have little flat periods where you may burn out somewhere along the way, but you never quit. And I've known a few others in the field that never quit either. They died continuing. Look at Richard Hall. He died basically putting out his UFO history newsletter on his deathbed. And Kehoe likewise lived into his 90s. He was still very active according to what his physical and mental abilities could bring to the table. So I have those luminaries. J. Allen Hynek ended up with a brain tumor, and he got the first symptom of it doing a lecture where he couldn't carry on the lecture, and another researcher finished it for him. These legends in the field are not for me to say. Never quit the work that you started, and hopefully build upon it, and show by example what young people can do today if they pick this subject up with a serious intent and with a focus that will carry them from decade to decade.
You know, one of the things of the movie Galaxy Quest, that satire of Star Trek starring Tim Allen, and their motto was never give up, never surrender. And I have to tell you this, neighbors, I kind of gave up on the UFO field a few times over the years. You know, I'd say, I had enough of this. I really got to go out there, and I have to make a living, and I have a family, and I can't keep doing this. And then 2 years later, I keep doing this. So you think back, February of 2006, I'm talking with my former co-host, and we say, let's do a radio show about the paranormal with a special emphasis on UFOs. I can't give it up. We have Larry Bryant, and he is author of such books as UFO Politics at the White House, still available. We have a link to that title. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Okay, neighbors, here's the problem. Face-to-face business meetings with clients and colleagues are always going to be important. But business travel is a hassle, and it's often a complete waste of money. Well, here's a solution for you. Do more, travel less with GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is an award-winning online meeting service brought to you by Citrix. With just a click, host sales presentations, training sessions, or product demos right from your own desk. Avoid the hassle of traveling and still exceed your sales goals. Plus, GoToMeeting is just $49 a month for unlimited online meetings. Plus, voice over IP and phone conferencing is included. My listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 45 days. For this special offer, visit gotomeeting.com/podcast. Once again, GoToMeeting free for 45 days. Visit gotomeeting.com/podcast.
Most people know that drinking pure high alkaline pH water is the most important factor in maintaining high energy and vibrant health. Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals. Using plasma pH drops is the best way to make your water alkaline to help you get rid of acid and regain your health and energy. Simply put 10 drops in the water you drink to raise the pH to a healthy level. Alkalizing water helps your body rid itself of acidic waste and increases the oxygen content of your body. Disease organisms like bacteria, viruses, and cancer cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops now by going directly to alkavision.com. That's ALKA Vision.com. Or call 269-409-1776.
269-409-1776 today.
Still worrying? From GMO to organic food in jeopardy, divided by economic turmoil, there is still an answer. With just a little knowledge easily acquired, you will literally see food everywhere. Author Linda Runyon has these skills from having lived this way of life and created the tools so you could too. Wild food is economical, nutritious, freely available, abundant, and free for the taking. It is a skill that takes little time to learn, but stays with you for life. And now, for a limited time, it's all on sale. It's called the Buy Old website sale. Can you guess what's coming? Absolutely everything's on sale across the board, including our already discounted packages. And you know, the holidays are coming up fast. We don't know if we're going to have another sale this year. This was the only one in 2010 so far. We've been lucky to keep our prices the same since 2008, but who knows what the future will bring. So go to ofthefield.com now or call toll-free 1-888-51-EAT-FREE. That's ofthefield.com or call 1-888-51-EAT-FREE and cross food off your to-do list.
What if a natural or man-made disaster forced you to flee your house in a moment's notice? Are you prepared to grab and go? You will be with My Evac Pack, the ultimate survival kit for emergency evacuations, and we mean ultimate. My Evac Pack is an easy-to-carry bag packed with 44 essential food servings and dozens of indispensable get-out-of-town supplies. My Evac Pack comes in two sizes, a backpack or a rolling duffel bag. Both are packed with great-tasting, nutritionally dense, long shelf-life food, plus all kinds of tools and supplies to help you and your family survive just about any kind of survival situation. See the new video and all you get in My Evac Pack at myevacpack.com. Spelled MYEVACPACK.com. myevacpack.com or call 877-327-0365. That's 1-877-327-0365. Get My Evac Pack today because you can't predict when or where an emergency will strike.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
You're in the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
We have Larry Bryant, longtime UFO researcher. The co-host Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. And Larry has been giving us kind of an introduction to his involvement in the UFO field. Chris, why don't you pick up on that?
Larry, I noticed in your biographical material that you were involved writing for government publications, military and others, for quite a number of years, over 30 years. How did you initially get involved in that? And was the UFO subject somehow a reason why you got involved in writing for the government?
Well, when I left school, I had to get a job as an adult at age 20, and I ended up as a clerk typist in civil service for the Army in Fort Monroe, Virginia, my hometown area. And I also had a genetic predisposition to want to write stuff. Writing and editing became a career for me. And my efforts to write about the UFO research field were very compatible with my chosen career field. The more I wrote on that hobby of mine, the better I became as a writer and editor, and the more I got promoted, and eventually I retired from that civil service job back in 1994, and I have not looked back since the day I walked out of the Pentagon and said, this is it, I'm a free man completely, I will have no problems having wide open activism on this subject, and activism is where it is as far as I'm concerned. I'm not just sitting around reading other people's stuff and commenting on it. I'm actually trying to do original research as best I can, and when I was talking online with Gene earlier, I realized that exopolitics is not a new form of activism. It dates back to the 50s. If you consider, for example, a fellow out in California who actually ran for president on the question of flying saucer existence. And he's dead now, but he was fairly famous when he was doing that back in California. And he was
that
so
Gabriel
famous, I
Green?
can't remember his name.
Gabriel Green?
That's it, Gabriel Green.
Don't ask me how I remember that. You know, I'm as old as the hills, so I remember that.
Green, had never heard of exopolitics. It's a newly coined term of several years' existence, but you know what? He was a practitioner of it, and then you can fast forward to, say, the year 2002, when Stephen Bassett ran for Congress on the UFO disclosure ticket. I helped him get signatures to get his name as an independent candidate on the congressional ballot for that year, and I can tell you this, getting 4,000 signatures was not an easy chore, but he had just a small cadre of dedicated signature gatherers, and we pulled it off. He was even invited to a town hall meeting held jointly by the Republican and the Democrat candidate, and he actually stood up there and boldly said what his motive was for getting into Congress, and that was to facilitate the disclosure that some UFOs really are hardware from elsewhere. So he became a modern-day leader in the exopolitics field.
But don't you think, though, to be fair about exopolitics, it's gotten pretty extreme. It's not just a simple quest to get information about UFOs disclosed to the public, but you know what? It gets into political agendas that don't always have a lot of authority behind them.
Well, there is a sort of like an undertone among some practitioners of questioning the motives of our current administration or the one before it. This is free speech as far as I'm concerned. And this field especially, everyone has a right to behave foolishly. There's no law against that.
I am told that every day by Mrs. Steinberg.
They have to learn the hard way that being indiscriminate about their public thinking on this subject is not going to help their program. It's going to be detrimental to public acceptance of what they've set out to do. And if they go off in an extreme format, then they're going to have to learn from their mistakes.
Well, one example of something I think is extreme is they have a ballot initiative in Denver, Colorado, to create an extraterrestrial affairs commission. What's that all about? Well,
it started a couple of years ago by a single practitioner of imaginative thinking. Now imagine that, somebody who actually says, I'm tired of the status quo, I want to do something original. In America, how can that be in this day and age? Well, it happened. And the man's name is Jeffrey Peckman. Jeffrey decided that, based on his own personal experience, he could bring off such an event as what he's proposing to do on November the 2nd of this year at the general election in Denver. He got enough signatures, 4,000. That seems to be the magic number in activism today. In any case, he had a little small group of volunteers to help him go door to door and getting signatures on a petition to propose an ordinance be passed in the city of Denver to create and operate a commission dedicated to determining the means and worthiness of having extraterrestrial interface with whatever it is that's piloting and controlling the UFO presence. Now, I have nothing against that. That's, in fact, there's a precedent for what he's done, and it happened back around 2003 or so when a MUFON member Bob Bletchman, who died a year or two ago, Bob got the idea that there should be a state-level ballot initiative to declare the year 2001 or 2000, whichever it was, to declare that year the year of UFO awareness by proclamation. So a volunteer from Missouri, the show-me state, stood up and said, I'm trying to get 30,000 signatures needed to put it on the state ballot in Missouri, but he just couldn't get enough people to help him gather those signatures. And then there's nothing wrong with having a proclamation from the governor or the mayor of a major city to declare that the status quo that we have today about UFO reality and the acceptance of the presence of possible extraterrestrial visitors, there's nothing wrong with proclaiming that awareness and acting on it in terms of educating the public, raising their, what I call their UFO ET intelligence quotient to a level that we can produce some results rather than just sitting around looking at our ufological navels.
Well, that's a good point, and I personally agree. I think that there's a lot of pop culture misinformation out there, and especially the younger folks who are coming along interested in this subject, they tend to be swayed, I think, by sort of pop culture thinking. It is a very highly complex subject, and it does take a bit of work if you really want to get into it and into the meat of the subject. And I do agree that we do need I think a coordinated outreach program to educate, especially the young folks, about the subject.
I'll tell you what, we'll get into more of that with Larry Bryant, our co-host Chris O'Brien, in our next section of the show. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, ever thought about creating a website? With HostGator, you can create your own website with your very own .com domain name. HostGator has a free site builder and thousands of design templates to create your website today. Whether you want to create a blog, a photo gallery, a family page, or a website for your business, HostGator has the right plan for you, starting at less than $5 a month for ultra-reliable website hosting with 99.9% uptime and true 24/7 live support available by phone, chat, or email, and based right here in the U.S. Don't be left without a website. It's more affordable and easier than you think. Sign up at technightowl.com/gator, that's Gator, to get the lowest possible price. At HostGator, that's technightowl.com/gator to get a special deal on all their web hosting services.
Normal blood pressure, naturally. How would that make you feel?
I'm Don from New Mexico. January of 2000, I had a heart attack. Then my real health began going downhill, and I had high blood pressure, high blood sugar, poor vision, and I really wasn't sleeping well. I was a mess, pretty much.
Don reports dramatic improvements with Heart and Body Extract.
I started taking Heart and Body Extract, and from within a few days, I started sleeping a lot better. My blood pressure normalized, my blood sugar normalized, and my sleep really did improve.
Experience these benefits and more when your body gets what it needs with the assistance of Heart and Body Extract. Order at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. That's hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305.
And folks, I did not expect this at all. By the 7th, 8th, and 9th day, I saw dramatic improvements from taking Heart and Body Extract.
Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
The food storage industry leader has done it again. Introducing FDG Clubs and Survival Bucks from the Freeze Dry Guy. For over 39 years, the Freeze Dry Guy has served various government agencies and the private sector with the finest in storable foods and emergency rations. If you've wanted to build emergency food supplies but couldn't afford it, now you can. Go to freezedryguy.com, click on products, and look for the Freeze Dry Guy Clubs to pay as you go. Now you can build food storage without going into debt. Choose from a payment range of $95 to $450 per month. month. Our clubs work with everyone's budget. Plus, when you join Freeze Dry Guy clubs, you'll get additional rewards. For example, this month, get 10% back in survival bucks on all purchases in the Freeze Dry Guy product line, plus free shipping within the lower 48 states on any order amount. Hurry, go to freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. That's freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. The Freeze Dry Guy, the best you can buy.
Take a minute and hear what I'm about to tell you. You might have heard about Life Change Tea on a radio commercial or a TV commercial, and you did what many people do. You tuned out. I understand. Now the facts. When health fails, you will do just about anything for better health. So why wait? Read our testimonies of better health by drinking Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. And how much does missing work cost you when you're sick? Get ahead of the sick curve. Get the tea. Here's how to order. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call one of our friendly operators. 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Our tea tastes great and will help you with your health, and you can even lose weight. So again, try us out at getthetea.com.
Tired of searching for great talk radio?
And I think it really does make a difference.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
Larry Bryant makes his first appearance on the Paracast. Co-host Chris O'Brien, I'm Gene Steinberg. Of course, you're in the Paracast. And one of the things I wonder about, though, if you have these various ballot initiatives and, as we say, local or state level initiatives, is that maybe putting the cart before the horse? Shouldn't we find out what's really going on, get whatever information governments have to offer before we set up extraterrestrial affairs commissions and stuff like that?
Well, I maintain we have enough. We've had it for years. I use the analogy of if you see one white crow, you don't need to see many more white crows to realize that not all crows are black. And the white crow in this instance is the wealth of hardcore data that we've already squeezed out of government archives, data that, had it been released upon its origination, would have raised quite a bit of eyebrows back in the population of the 1950s and 1960s. This stuff is now available for anybody to dig up and evaluate it on his own and make his own decision. I don't need any more of that material to make my own decision. I have concluded, along with some other responsible researchers like Stanton Friedman, that some of the reported flying saucer encounters represent hardware from elsewhere, piloted by intelligent beings of some sort, and that evidence, if presented, say, in a grand jury setting before witnesses and grand jurors who would obviously determine the credibility of the material presented, they would probably come out with an indictment if it were a criminal case involved. And I say that's all the evidence I need to act on. You got to move forward at one point and get away from the business as usual of collecting, analyzing, and archiving UFO sighting reports. It hasn't led us to a definitive solution, and I think that definitive solution is only going to come from the grassroots level at this point.
Okay, well, let's maybe pursue this further. You've gone after government information about UFOs, but does the government really know anything other than having loads of cases they can't explain?
Do they have other than just unexplained cases?
Do they have some answers, or do they just have all this data that they really can't?
I would say with the technological detection devices they have today, they have plenty of answers. They just don't want us to know about it for whatever reason. I've always said that the Navy has the ultimate control, the ultimate power, authority to handle this subject, and there's evidence of this floating around. If you look hard enough, that the Navy is probably the most operative controlling factor in what the government knows and when it knew it about UFO reality.
Well, that's an interesting question too. If UFOs are seen in the air, isn't the Air Force the place to go? Why the Navy?
The Navy's been involved since Roswell. The Navy's been involved since the 1952 estimate of the situation published by the Air Force, and with a notation on the bottom of the cover that the Navy's intelligence people, Office of Naval Intelligence, had a direct role in that particular report. So, as I say, they have these ships at sea with all that radar detection device, with planes that fly off of carriers, get airborne, get up there in the stratosphere with their own gun camera cameras poised to take pictures of these incoming objects under intelligent control. This, my friend, has to be a no-brainer as far as the government's handle on the subject. There have been, for example, Navy personnel back in the days of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, the old NICAP, run by Major Kehoe, a Marine Corps major, retired. Marine Corps, of course, part of the Navy. Part of the board of directors for NICAP included a Navy admiral, Rear Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter, who became eventually a CIA director.
You know, let me just interrupt, Larry. One of the reasons why people felt skeptical of NICAP and its motives was the heavy usage of military personnel, ex-military personnel, and having a former head of the CIA, people were saying, my God, it must be a government disinformation agency. So is that a logical thing to say?
It may have had a tendency, maybe, to go that way, but it never did end up. It died when the Accounting Committee report came out. Financial support withered to keep the organization alive. But as I say, I think that the military presence in NICAP was a natural outcome of Kehoe's inside contacts. Dewey Fournay, another Navy officer, was a very critical insider contact for Kehoe, and he did what was natural. He went to his comrades in arms and said, listen, we know what's going on, and the public deserves to know, and let's get an organization going, and let's use your expertise and your contact record to keep it going. And I find nothing wrong with that. I knew a medical doctor who was a flight surgeon. He also died of a brain tumor. He was very careful in his research, and he, as I say, had been a flight surgeon. And when he told me that whenever he encountered some pilots, he would always say, "What about UFOs?" And one of the answers he got back was, "You really don't want to know the answer." That was a rather cryptic way of saying, doctor, you know, this is not a frivolous subject at all, and it's one that pilots behind the scenes, particularly military pilots, view as a critical subject. So that's all I can say about it. At this point, there is a military role that's being played out since the 50s, and it hasn't stopped to this day.
Well, you know what? The other question I would also ask then is, do you think there is a lot of disinformation in the UFO field, that people from the government, intelligence agencies, whatever, they're putting out stuff to confuse and befuddle the UFO research community?
There has been some of that. I'm not sure to the extent of it. For example, the Benowitz affair down in New Mexico, a fellow named Benowitz was getting very close to to developing his own insider sources for UFO information, and apparently the Air Force Office of Special Investigations didn't like it, so they had him set up to be fed disinformation to cause him, basically he ended up with a nervous breakdown over it. So let's hope there's not many more cases like that going on, but it wouldn't surprise me that counterintelligence people who are trained in all kinds of techniques for protecting so-called national security information, it wouldn't surprise me that if they're pushed far enough, they have to resort to efforts of rather nefarious means. And that's just part of the field we're involved in. The likelihood is always going to be there because we're knocking on a door that's remained closed for decades and maybe has a few cracks in it now. Kehoe talked about this very subject, and he would refer to what's known as the silence group within the military. The silence group were the keepers of the secret, but there was a countervailing sentiment among other officers in the military that says, no, this is not the way we should handle the subject. We should be open as possible, and therefore we think that the government's making a mistake. And this was going on back in the 50s and 60s. The silence group may or may not have much authority today, and there may be a glimmer of hope in that there are some whistleblowers who are coming forward in various ways. Some of them may or may not be as credible as others. But again, this is all we have to work with. The only game in town is what the government decides, and we have to evaluate what they put forward and what they don't put forward.
I'll tell you what, Larry, let's pursue this in our next hour. We have Larry Bryant, co-host Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part? The GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
In his best E.T. voice. Can you speak like an E.T.? Go ahead, try it one more time, Chris.
The Paracast.
Oh, well, E.T. has to speak in a high-pitched voice. There's something about E.T. I think E.T.s have a predilection for helium.
Yeah, I should get a tank just to make it interesting there, Gene.
You know, years ago, Howard Stern had his whole crew inhale helium on the air. Forget about it. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. We have Larry Bryant, who is putting up with our guff, and we're trying to make sense of all this. Now, Larry, you've been the whistleblower all these years. You've gone after the government to get Freedom of Information documents. How has that fared? When did this all start for you?
Actually, I'm not a whistleblower, but I am a cheerleader for whistleblowing to the extent that I'm still cheering today for people like Colonel Corso, an Army lieutenant colonel who retired from the Army and eventually wrote a book called The Day After Roswell.
Now, let me just stop there. That's been pretty controversial, as you know.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of complaints that maybe Corso's background and statements were inaccurate, that maybe Bill Burns, the co-author, edited the book so heavily that maybe there are things there that are missing or exaggerated. But you accept Corso's basic premise here that he was the bag man who brought ET technology into private industry.
If it wasn't he, it probably was somebody else that either he worked with or knew to some extent. The core story of Corso's involvement with exploitation of Roswell debris has a true ring to it, because let's face it, if Roswell occurred, debris was scarfed up by the authorities, was probably analyzed in a cursory way, and stored somewhere. And according to Corso's account, part of that debris was parceled out to the Army, to the Air Force, and the Navy, which makes sense to me. If you've got something that needs to be analyzed and exploited, then you got to send it, put it in the right people's hands, get contractors involved, and do the exploitation. Now, whether they really had the authority to do it as much as they did, and enrich the military-industrial complex, that's a whole new political question. But the point is the history, does it make sense? And it does to me. In Corso, as I say, he may have had some personal flaws, but in general, he would have, had a high security clearance when he was working in the Pentagon and under General Trudeau and the research and development community of the Army. I'd say I give him the benefit of the doubt that his core story makes a lot of sense.
You know, I want to say this, and I've gone back and forth about Corso. Ever since the Paracast first debuted in 2006, we had Bill Burns on several times to talk about it, and I understand the concerns. Apparently his credentials were maybe misidentified in the book. There were lots of typos or
right.
Poor editing issues. But the thing is, in general here, here's a guy who has a very credible reputation in the military. Why would he, at the end of his life, come up with this stuff if it's nonsense? Why would he do it?
He had a simple explanation. His children said that, I want you, Daddy or Grandfather, I want you to put your story on record because you've been a historical player in this thing, and you need to come out and put it on record. And that was his simple explanation. I don't know if it satisfies most people, but it satisfies me for the time being.
Well, I'm really interested. I was just going to point out that the Open Minds group down there in Tempe has actually, I think, published his original manuscript prior to Bill Burns' involvement, and I've yet to see somebody compare the two. It would be an interesting project for somebody to see how much actually was changed in the actual final versions of the book that Burns was involved with. One of the things that you brought up before, Larry, that I want to touch on here real quick is, we've been talking about the military and the government, and you did bring up the military-industrial complex and this whole idea of compartmentalization of these secrets, if you will. How much do you think the government really knows? Do you think a lot of this real super secure information is being held in the hands of private corporations like Bechtel and Lockheed and McDonnell Douglas and, the RAND Corporation, TRW, groups like that? How much do you think has been compartmentalized away from the Larry Bryants and the John Greenwalds and the FOIA request into the private sector? Do you have a sense of that?
99% of the hardcore information in the government's hands continues to be under wraps. And the part of that 99% includes gun camera pictures from interceptor jets. You don't need any better information than that to make a conclusion. A jet fighter up there in the stratosphere with high-tech gun cameras is going to capture some major footage. And, of course, we've had gun cameras that go back to the 60s at least. And I'm sure that they probably have stereoscopic capability on these gun cameras today. And you know, with color film, with infrared film, all kinds of stuff. We don't know for sure because, again, that's a military secret. That's stuff we don't want our enemies to replicate anytime soon.
So you think it's the technology that we have that's being held secret, not as well as what they're actually filming. So
there's probably a combination of that. What the intelligence community calls sources and methods of intelligence collection and analysis. They rightfully want to protect stuff like that, because there's other people who'd like to get their hands on the same material that we have. But again, you know, if there's a threat from UFOs, we should know about it. We are the people of the government. You know, we're both the governors and the governed in this country, and we have a right to know if whatever threat exists.
And if there is no threat, why keep it secret?
Well, as I say, that is the crux of the issue. Why is the government afraid to let its own people know what's going on? Maybe there's some nefarious policy that says we will lose the allegiance of our people if we admit that we misled them for 40-some years.
Well, the other question I have, Larry, is how do you keep a secret that long? Multiple administrations, multiple levels of leadership changes in the military and the intelligence agencies. How can you keep this singular item a secret?
Well, we have had leaks of information. Remember the Iranian jet interceptor case of back in, late 70s?
76.
The Iranian Air Force dispatched interceptors to check out a UFO sighting, and when they did, the result was not only negative but dangerous, because one of the intercepting pilots was getting ready to arm his weapons and maybe shoot at the interloper, and when that happened, the systems of the entire jet interceptor failed, and that's enough to make a lot of people retire from the military. This was first. It was leaked. This account was leaked to the public, and eventually, through the Freedom of Information Act, the Air Force owned up. Yes, we have this document, and it doesn't show really much of anything, but you can have it.
Well, I'll tell you what. We can have a lot more in a moment, but we have Larry Bryant. He's a longtime UFO investigator. We're covering what he feels is the existence, the proof that UFOs are here because they are ET. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
Where have all the military surplus stores gone? Don't worry, you don't need one, because everything you need at military surplus is at mainemilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E military.com, one of the last surviving true military surplus stores in the country. Go online now to mainemilitary.com and discover a source for hard-to-find surplus items at true surplus prices. Surplus gun cleaning kits as low as $2.99. Complete chemical suits as low as $11.99. See our huge selection of gas masks, filters, and accessories. Finish at M10 gas masks are 3 for $30, and Swiss filters are 3 for $12. Searching for Strike Anywhere matches? MainMilitary.com has them, plus a whole new product line of survival and first aid kits and lots more. Get free shipping on orders over $50 only at MainMilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E military.com, or call 877-608-0179, 877-608-0179. MainMilitary.com, the main name in military supply.
Take a minute and hear what I'm about to tell you. You might have heard about Life Change Tea on a radio commercial or a TV commercial, and you did what many people do. You tuned out. I understand. Now the facts. When health fails, you will do just about anything for better health. So why wait? Read our testimonies of better health by drinking Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. And how much does missing work cost you when you're sick? Get ahead of the sick curve. Get the tea. Here's how to order. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call one of our friendly operators. 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Our tea tastes great and will help you with your health, and you can even lose weight. So again, try us out at getthetea.com.
Bringing you the best in alternative talk radio for over 10 years. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out on iTunes.
Larry Bryant joining us this week on the Paracast. I'm Gene Steinberg. Chris O'Brien's the co-host, and we're exploring what they know or don't know about UFOs. And if it's all ET, okay, that's one thing. But what about all the side issues that we have in the UFO field? And we have the stuff that Jacques Vallée brought to the table, John Keel, many others, about other events that indicate maybe it's far more than ET. What do you think about all that, Larry?
You know, theories are fine to look at. Theories keep the issue alive. Well, what we're really dealing with partially here is a mythology. The mythology of UFO research, basically. There's a lot of symbolism involved, imagery that can be interpreted in one way or another. And so the field of studying myths comes to play here to some degree, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is what culture is all about. We have a subculture called UFO research. And it's fed by mythological premises, just as any other subculture would be to some extent. And as I say, that's part of the picture. So, next question.
Interesting. I want to jump in here on that one. Why, for instance, here would be my response to that, and I do kind of hear, Larry, that you're saying, look, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, chances are it's a duck, and I think for a majority of the field that pretty much holds true. But there's a lot of things that have been reported over the decades that just don't make sense in terms of the actual behavior of the pilots of these craft when they land. Why do they still need to come out of the ship, for instance, and walk around and pick flowers and look at rocks like they've never seen them before? I mean, we both know that we could stick something up with our level of technology the size of a beer keg in orbit around this planet and pretty much determine almost anything that you could possibly want to know. And
maybe they have a tendency that we humans have. They're tourists. Maybe they want to take some artifacts back home and show it to the kids. I don't know the answer to it, but I'm
so
not
they're collecting
sure how
souvenirs.
That occurs.
So basically, then, when we have 1 million UFO crews coming down here, each of which takes soil samples, it's because it's different families, and they want to come and do their own stuff. You know, they're visiting the Grand Canyon, which in this case is Earth.
Or they may want to get some blonde hair from a young lady that they have an attraction to. Who knows? Listen, their motives are certainly worth looking into, because if the abduction phenomenon has any substance to it, then we're in trouble. We are sitting ducks for any time a fellow citizen attracts the interest of a UFO abductor. And our government has shamefully stuck its head in the ground about this bird. They don't want to touch the abduction cases at all. It's just it's a no man's land of inquiry. Now, what does that tell you? Something's wrong with that equation. The government should be looking into abductions, and they had a chance back in the 60s before the more widely known cases occurred. There was an abduction in Chesapeake, Virginia, of a TV repair shop owner who was working very late into the night, into the early morning hours, in fact, and when he closed up his shop to go home, left the building, he saw something flying, hovering down within eyesight. And so he eventually reported this to the FBI. And the FBI did a one-page memorandum on this, saying that the man could not recall a certain period of several hours after he had left the shop. You know what that's called? That's called missing time syndrome, which abductees have in a lot of cases where they are returned to their home or automobile or picnic table wherever they were abducted, and they do have no recollection of a certain period of time. So this is a legal matter, a law enforcement matter.
Well, you know what? Another thing I have to interrupt here. One of the more controversial aspects of so-called abduction research is how do you unearth the memories of the period where someone blacked out, lost time, whatever, the missing time. And some say, okay, hypnotic regression, but then that's very controversial. You know, you can take David Jacobs, Dr. David Jacobs, in one room, and in the same room put Kevin Randle, and Kevin Randle says, no, it's not reliable abduction investigation using hypnotic regression. David Jacobs says it is. So where do you stand on that?
I'd say that any technique that's seriously undertaken should continue to take place, because we're in a disadvantage at this point. If the government does know about abductions, it knows more than it wants to tell us. And this is dangerous behavior on the part of the government, and we're still stuck with the possibility that anybody on the planet can be abducted at will by creatures from wherever they originate. And as I say, it's a law enforcement matter. It's a public safety matter. And while we're allowing this to go on, if it is, and any number of people who claim to be abducted, they show no signs of dementia, of psychotic behavior at all. In fact, if anything, they show signs of being too normal. So I say the jury's still out on the credibility of the abduction phenomena itself and on the efficacy of researchers looking into whatever it is they can find. So I say do not close the door on abduction research. Try to get whistleblowers within the government to open up on this subject as well as just the basic nuts and bolts hardware issue.
Well, you know what? The other question is here, is the government complicit? Maybe they're in touch with ET and they say, okay, you're allowed to take some samples, to take specimens. If you don't hurt anybody, go ahead and abduct, so many people. Do you believe in any of that?
I don't necessarily use the word belief. There have been rumors that there has been a military presence in some cases of UFO abductions. I don't know how substantive the rumors are, but again, the point is that this mystery is so spread around, so amorphous, that it spawns rumors, conjecture, disinformation on the part of not only government agents, but also on the part of people who have an agenda of some, intellectual agenda that's not harmonious with what other people have.
I'll tell you what, maybe some people just want to sell books and earn the money from the lecture tours, get their 15 or 30 minutes of fame, and don't really care about finding out about UFOs. We have Larry Bryant joining us, longtime UFO investigator. The co-host is Chris O'Brien, and now he's preparing his best ET voice. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy. A thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition.
Soon we'll be shutting our doors and windows, shutting out fresh air for months. Did you know you're also keeping in allergens, bacteria, and germs that cause colds and flu? What if there was a low-cost way of blanketing your home with clean air? There is. Introducing the AirOasis 3000 Air Purifier. It utilizes new patent-pending nanotechnology, producing a blanket of oxidizers that cleans the air and sanitizes the surfaces. Imagine not spreading the cold or flu bug to everyone around you. AirOasis 3000 Air Purifiers are made in the USA, come with a 3-year warranty, have no filters to replace, no grids to clean, and require no maintenance for 3 years. Try the AirOasis 3000 Air Purifier risk-free for 30 days. JCN listeners get $100 off when you order at breathebetterair.com or call 806-477-0322. That's 806-477-0322 and get the best air purifier for the best price at breathebetterair.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Are you concerned about dropping or losing your cell phone? Are you tired of dealing with cell phone clips or holsters? Then this message is for you. Introducing Clip Hanger, the best and most affordable cell phone holder on the market, made to keep your phone secure and accessible. Clip Hanger works with all cell phones, including the iPhone, Droid, BlackBerry, and even iPods. When attached to a pant loop, Clip Hanger won't poke when you sit down. And for women, Clip Hanger easily attaches to any purse strap. Carry a phone in your pocket? Simply use one finger to pull it out with Clip Hanger. Clip Hanger is thin and simple, has a 1-year warranty against breakage, and prices start at only $10.95. With your Clip Hanger purchase, we'll also send you the auto hook for your car and ship everything to you absolutely free. See the amazing Clip Hanger and the Clip Hanger Lite with its built-in LED flashlight at myphoneclip.com. To order, call 801-719-2680. That's 801-719-2680. Or visit myphoneclip.com to get your Clip Hanger today.
Tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more.
It's good stuff.
We are the GCN Radio Network. Genesis.
This is the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
Let's applaud Chris O'Brien for the best ET voice.
Yeah, I'm good for something.
Well, you said it, I didn't. I'm Gene Steinberger in the Paracast. We've got Chris O'Brien as the co-host. Larry Bryant is the guest. Okay, so let's look at the UFO field in general, trying to figure out what's going on. And we have a situation of, can't we all get along? And you've got so many interests and so many competing elements of the UFO field. How do you sort things out? I mean, if someone comes into the UFO investigative field and they see what's happening, they want to quit right away. At least a lot of people do, saying, you know what, this is too much conflict. So what do you think about all this? How do we figure it out?
The conflict, the guessing, the gamesmanship among researchers. Some researchers find a pet case that they love to keep, and they spend their whole career nursing that one particular pet case and resent anybody else trying to get a handle on it. This is human nature, my friend. It's sort of like religion in a way that you create an in-group and you make sure that it's protected from any incursion from an out-group. So it's just human nature at work. The field is always going to remain controversial. I would remind you of a case where a younger investigator got into the field. He was an airline pilot. His name was Kent Jeffrey. He decided that the Roswell case, crash saucer case, was deserving of his attention. He mounted what he called the Roswell Initiative, a widely circulated petition among the citizenry to have the government open up its files on Roswell, to admit that Roswell occurred and that artifacts were retrieved and aliens were examined and so forth. Well, he got thousands of signatures. Thousands. He was going to present this, I suppose, to Congress or to some other authority. And guess what? He made an about turn, saying, in effect, well, I was wrong. Roswell was just a series of high-flying balloons experimented upon by the Army Air Force, and therefore I'm going to drop the petition project. This is a dark moment in ufology, and we've recovered from it, but it's symptomatic of dilettantes getting into the field, making a big splash, and then just walk off as if they just had a big bowel movement in public and decided, well, this is enough of that, and now I'll try something else.
You know, it reminds me of somebody we had a couple of weeks ago on the show who has his book coming out and a great initiative. He has a whistleblower who can tell you what's happening in Dulce, New Mexico. 2 days after the show is broadcast, he quits the field, abandons everything, but then he comes back to the field 2 days later.
Exactly. This is
so basically he took a laxative and came back.
Yeah, he took a he had mental problems over his marital discord. And he overreacted, and again, you know, he's probably been under a lot of stress since he began this project, especially if he actually believes the Colonel X whistleblower source that he'd been cultivating for some months, I guess, and he probably he just couldn't handle what was being dished out to him from left and right. And I don't know him personally, but I can empathize with the fact that he got in over his head and overreacted, and now he's back in again. He's making his book available as an electronic book on his website, which is fine. You know, if his book holds up, that's fine too. If it just fades away, as any number of other tell-all books have a way of doing in this field, then we have to accept that and move along, because that's what the fields are. We have a most anarchic discipline field we've had on any subject matter in the world. Anybody can declare himself to be an expert in this field. You don't need any credentials. You don't need any degrees in science or philosophy or anything. You just say, I'm a UFO researcher, and blam, there you are. You can carve out whatever image you want to do. And
you don't even need a degree. You don't have to go to a degree mill where they print up the degree and say, Larry Bryant, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien, you have multiple PhDs in ufology. You just say, I'm a ufologist. No one gives an examination for a state licensing board or a federal licensing board.
Yeah, I can point out one of the persons you mentioned earlier in your conversation used to go around calling himself a PhD, and he seems not to do that anymore. And it could be somebody did a little investigation and found that he never went before one of these boards where academics, treat you to an exam, and maybe never really produced a certified dissertation. In any case, as you say, people can overextend in their credentials. They can overextend in their emotional attachment to the field. That's just part and parcel of such an anarchic field of inquiry.
Boy, I'll say. There's a lot of little petty fiefdoms out there in this field, and boy, if you don't agree with certain named investigators and researchers, A-list types out there, if you don't totally buy lock, stock, and barrel their theories, then you're the enemy. You're part of the problem. And I have several researcher investigator friends that have been accused by people as being government operatives or being agent provocateur types and that sort of thing. And I really feel for the younger generation coming up interested in this field. I see the younger generation getting involved in this field, even superficially, and immediately they will see the fractious infighting. And I think that's enough to really turn somebody off from really diving in and getting involved. Someone like a John Greenwald, who I have tremendous respect for, and I think I'm sure Larry does as well with the kind of quality of work that he's done. But this is going to be a continuing problem, and I don't see any real solution to it. I really feel for folks up and coming from the younger generation who have an interest in this field, but it's not going to take them long to figure out that they're getting into a real cesspool of agenda and personal opinion, and it would be enough to turn somebody off. I think there's a few examples of people that have shouldered on and really done a yeoman's job in the field, like a John Greenwald, who I have tremendous respect for. And I'm sure Larry does as well. But this is a problem, and until we really come to grips with it, I think that the field will be spinning its wheels. And I think we should all kind of enroll in the Rodney King school of, can't we all just get along here? Agree to disagree, but, respect each other's opinions instead of, denigrating each other. It just makes the field look that much less legitimate, I guess, in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the scientific community, what have you. I'm off my soapbox now, Gene.
All right, well, I don't know how we're going to get along if everybody has a different point of view as to what's really going on in this field. I mean, you have people who say, I met E.T., or E.T. abducted me, and they told me that I am the sole spokesperson for the E.T. interest on the planet Earth. Therefore, I am the only one out there. I mean, we have somebody out there, we're not going to mention the name or the person he represents. He claims to be the American representative of a specific UFO contactee. And he says that's the only UFO contactee on the planet. Everybody else is a pretender. Everybody else is a fake. And by the way, something that isn't a fake is the fact that we have forums, forum.paracast.com, forum.paracast.com. We know, neighbors, you're going to have things to say about what you heard from me, from Chris O'Brien, from Larry Bryant. And by the way, if you want to know more of the things Larry does, if you go to theparacast.com and click on his name, you get to his blog, and you click on the name of his book, you can go and order a copy. It's still available. We'll ask about that book a little bit later on. I also have a special request. If you'd like to become part of the Paracast team, we're looking for a sales and marketing specialist. If you have that kind of experience, especially in the online world and maybe in broadcasting, send your resume to sales@theparacast.com, sales@theparacast.com. So our guest this week is Larry W. Bryant. The co-host who has done lots of UFO research, written his own books, is Chris O'Brien. In his best ET voice, he's getting us set for this right now. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
The Paracast.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
As gardeners, we can all relate.
What do you do with all of the excess food that you grow?
Freezing or canning may have been the process you've used, but the good folks at Excalibur Dehydrator have a healthy alternative to preserve the fruits of your labor. The Excalibur Dehydrator will help you preserve your fruits and vegetables quickly and easily, so you don't have to worry about premature spoiling. You can also use your Excalibur Dehydrator year-round to make delicious jerky. And the best part? The foods you dehydrate are free from excess additives, salt, and preservatives, and that's something we can all do without. To learn more and to order your very own Excalibur Dehydrator, visit drying123.com and see how the Excalibur Dehydrator can help you preserve your favorite foods.
Mention coupon code GCN and receive a free book on how to preserve your foods.
Again, that's drying123.com, drying123.com, or call 1-800-875-4254. That's 1-800-875-4254 today.
Hi, I'm here talking with Don Wiskin of HeartDrop.com. I understand that you changed the name of your product, Don.
Yes, we did. It's now Extendivite, meaning to extend your life.
Wow, extend your life. Everybody wants to extend their life. How is it made, Don?
Well, Extendivite is made from herbs gathered from many different parts of the world. We chose 7 of the heart and health-related herbs known to improve your health.
Your heart drops have always kept me from feeling sick or run down, Don. Will Extendivite continue to do the same thing for me?
Yes, it will. All we changed was the name. I'm here because at 42 I had a heart attack and the garlic cayenne drops gave me back my life.
We have been talking with Don Wiskin about his exciting new product called Extendivite. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit his website at heartdrop.com. That's HeartDrop.com.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 5 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with with 2 Black Berkey Elements for only $209, and the Berkey Guy will include 3 Sport Berkey water bottles and ship everything to you free of charge. That's right, 3 Sport Berkey water bottles and free shipping. An $87 value, yours free. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio.
You guys are awesome. I love the station. I really do.
GCN.
This is Philip Rogno. You're listening to Paracast, one of the most informative shows out there. So listen closely.
That, neighbors, is a very old E.T., okay? It's kind of an old and doddering E.T., 400 years old, from Zeta Reticuli. Is that right, Chris O'Brien?
Yes, Gene.
Well, spare me. Larry Bryant's the guest. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. So now, of course, we look at all this here, and we have the people who are looking for the fame and the fortune, Larry. And what do we do to toss them out of the field, get rid of them so people coming into this mess don't consistently find themselves just completely confused over what's going on?
It's not a hopeless situation. There are some books being written that are very worthwhile for newcomers to take a look at. As long as there's UFO sightings, UFO encounters, there's always going to be an ample supply of literature, magazines, journals, newsletters, books, lectures from experts at conventions and so forth. This is a subculture we're dealing with, and part of it involves elements of the human nature. For example, in our earlier discussion here, you mentioned the inability of people to coalesce and have a unified approach to the subject. There's a human nature aspect called "not invented here." I heard that phrase used when I was employed, and it pertains to, for example, a project that some group and another division of the organization might come up with, and it gets resistance from a group across the hall who might say, well, it sounds okay, but since we didn't invent it, it's probably not going to work, or words to that effect. So the old not invented here syndrome is human nature, and this is what you get with people who latch on to a certain case or to a certain approach, and they resent outsiders from coming in. It just is something we have to deal with because we're all human, and it'd be nice to have a civil approach to the subject. But again, because of its amorphous structure, ufology, sometimes called ufology, because some people think we're fools to even stay as long as we have in the subject.
That came from John Keel, by the way. I think he coined the term ufology.
Yeah, we may be foolish up to a point, but are you really gaining any personal satisfaction, any progress on this? And then you make your decision. That's all. It's what has to be.
I'd rather be a little bit foolish than be totally in denial.
Good point.
Well, Larry, one of the organizations that you were, I think, didn't you help start Citizens Against UFO Secrecy? Or I know you were involved with CAUSE for a number of years. Yes. How about if you tell us a little bit about that organization and the history of it, and what you feel are the successes of that? Because it does appear to many people like myself as a real inspiration for the process of getting some sort of information from the government, from the military.
Yes, I was a founding member of that group, which never became larger than a couple hundred people. It's now withered down 2 people. Still operative member of Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, which when it started back in the late 70s, it had about, at its heyday, about 150 members. And among the other founders, besides me and attorney Peter Gersten of New York, who now lives in Sedona, Arizona, Brad Sparks, Larry Fawcett of New England, Stanton Friedman, and maybe 2 or 3 more other people in the field decided that after the Ground Saucer Watch Freedom of Information lawsuit freed up some CIA material on UFO reports, this group decided that we should unify our anti-UFO secrecy efforts and form this little research and activism group called Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, which is now dormant except for me here in Alexandria, Virginia, which occasionally I cite my membership as the director of the Washington, D.C. office of cause, and I do that to lend some authority to my continued efforts to persuade federal agencies to free up heretofore unreleased material. One of the highlights of my own work in the organization dates back to 1983, when I filed a lawsuit, basically called a petition for writ of habeas corpus extraterrestrial. It was filed in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. It was a petition to have the judge order the U.S. Air Force to produce the bodies that were recovered from any crash saucer case. And I used as evidence for the petition a synopsis of cases from Leonard Stringfield's crash saucer research. I asked Leonard by telephone, I said, please, I filed this lawsuit, but I need some substance, some evidence to present to the judge. And so he did send me some cases, summary cases. I think there were 6 summarized as being at the top of his list of credible cases. So I went into court. The court did grant me a hearing, and by the way, the case was filed through the mail. I never had to go down to the clerk's office and stand there and fill out a bunch of forms. I just found some format somewhere and decided, well, I'll try it, and I have no expectation that this thing would even get accepted. Well, it did get accepted, and the record is visible for anybody to research. The actual petition itself is now published in a book that the late Colonel Wendell Stevens, Air Force retired colonel, he just died this year, and he published a book in which he included my petition as an appendix. In any case, the judge listened to both sides. I was sitting there in what they call a pro se status with no legal attorney at my side. The Air Force brought in a couple of uniformed JAG officers, Judge Advocate General people from the Pentagon, and then the U.S. Attorney had a representative there to plead the government's case that this particular petition should be dismissed. The judge listened to me, and I said I was basically performing a reverse citizen's arrest. I was performing a request for disarrest. In other words, these bodies that supposedly were retrieved from crash saucers were taken away without a warrant, were stolen, and that this was not proper behavior on the part of official government interest. And the judge quietly, he was an elder person, probably in his late 80s. I said, this is the smoking gun, Your Honor, and I held up in my hand the 6 cases from Leonard Stringfield's research. And he said, well, Mr. Bryant, do you have anything besides smoke? And I'm sure there was a lot of smirking going on behind me. There were quite a few media people there, and eventually I explained to the judge that I had, upon my arrival at the courtroom, I'd just been handed the government's motion for dismissal, and I hadn't had a chance to read it. And he said, would you like to read it now? So I sat there going through several pages, the room quiet as if it were a church chapel.
A very patient judge, I might add.
I was totally surprised. He treated me with great gentility, with solicitation. He let me read through it. I guess I spent 5 minutes with my head bowed down over that paper, and I finally arose from my seat. I said, "Judge, it seems that the government here is saying I do not have standing to bring this lawsuit, and that I have no case to pursue." And he said, "Well, you know, that's exactly right," or something like that. He did issue a written opinion and said that, technically speaking, he had no jurisdiction to actually try the case.
You know what? Maybe you had to bring in the relatives of the aliens to reclaim the bodies.
You haven't shown me where the bodies are, and you have not shown me evidence that you represent the bodies. So therefore, I have no recourse but to dismiss the case. You know what?
I'll tell you what. Let's split for the next segment. We'll go on. Larry Bryant joining us this week. We're talking about one of his early petitions to recover information about alleged UFO bodies. Chris O'Brien's the co-host. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part? The GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Straight and narrow. Chris O'Brien, our co-host, doing it without any embellishment. Larry Bryant joining us. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. So basically, the long and short of it is, Larry, that the judge concluded you had no standing to bring a case to demand that they deliver the bodies of E.T. So who has standing? Who can do it if there are such bodies? Would it be the relatives of E.T. or what?
Well, you know, had I had those relatives in hand, I'd have brought them right in that courtroom. That's for damn sure. He had no real choice, and as I said, I had no expectation that case would get even into the filing stage, much less get a hearing. And I'm dismayed even today as I think about it, because it engendered worldwide publicity. I got calls from Japan, from Europe, from all over. The National Bar Association, the American Bar Association, ran a story about it in their journal. The local papers, the Washington Post, the Washington Times, the Alexandria Gazette, these local papers did major feature stories on the case. I had radio interviews from all over the place, all because I had used a little bit of imagination, a little bit of provocation, and a little bit of intuition to say this is the right moment and I'm the man to do this, and I did it, and as I say, it's part of the history. And it raised public awareness. There was a lot of poo-pooing that went on within some media. But you know what? I don't regret having done it. And as I said, I think it helped raise public awareness about the seriousness of the subject matter. And of course, Roswell took off like crazy. As we know, when the Air Force issued the final report on the Roswell case, I think that particular lawsuit of mine may have precipitated the Air Force having been being backed into a corner and trying to save face and come out with something that the public can accept for the time being.
You know, one of the things I'm just interested in here is where we stand today. Now, we have that best-selling book from Leslie Kean, who was on the show very recently, and she's doing very well. She's been on all sorts of TV and radio shows. Lots of articles written about that. We had the latest National Press Club event with Robert Hastings and Bob Salas. So, all right now, in 2010, coming up to 2011, where do you think it's going? Do you think the people are accepting the possible reality of UFOs more today? And how do we take it to the next level?
I think there is an awakening occurring. It's very slow. It's fueled in part, as you say, by the news media taking serious that particular press conference about which I attended, by the way. I was on the front row listening to it and absorbing the history of it. We're closer to UFO disclosure today than probably we've ever been since Kehoe's heyday, back when he was trying to get congressional hearings on the subject. There's in Europe and other overseas countries, there's even a greater level of awareness of the seriousness of reports, because sightings continue to occur in China, in Europe, South America, and so forth. We now have an opportunity to energize the public's awareness, and that's exactly what we're working forward on in the Denver Initiative, and perhaps the United Nations trying to perk their interest in this subject. And by the way, there's a fellow named Mike Luttman in New York City. In the next week or two, he plans to announce his effort to create an extraterrestrial affairs commission in New York City by local ballot initiative.
I still get concerned about this, Larry, that whether that helps anyone investigate UFOs or can create the potential for a laughingstock. Wouldn't it be better to get scientists involved to get all the information out and then worry about having ET commissions and all this other stuff?
No, scientists have dropped the ball on this subject. We've got a scientist in the United Nations Space Study Commission, or whatever it is, in the United Nations, and she, a lightweight is on this subject as far as I'm concerned. She has an opportunity to say the United Nations should take the lead on scientific inquiry into the subject, but she really hasn't done it, and that makes her a lightweight, and again, that's a lost opportunity, which is part of the history of this subject. There are good scientists, some of them are dead now, like Hynek, who wanted a careful, reasoned, focused plan for research, but it's not going to happen because what are we doing? We're not studying UFOs, we're studying UFO reports, said Hynek. UFO reports are legend at this point, and we've got to get off of that standstill, or we're going to be on a treadmill for the rest of our lives. Local politics. You know, there's a saying that all politics is local, and it certainly applies to exopolitics at this point in time. So I encourage Luttman to do whatever he can to follow the model of Denver, and anybody else who's got the backbone to do it. And it's not going to be scientists, because scientists are worried about their income. They're worried about their public status if they touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. They want those grants from the government. They want their tenure intact. So I have to tell you, I have no faith in science at all. Look what science has done on the global warming issue. It perverted the thing.
How so? How did science pervert global warming?
Well, according to some detractors anyway, there was a fraud perpetrated by scientists in Europe somewhere. And,
but that might be overextending it, because what they're saying is that a small number of letters were illegally disclosed, and they were doing shop talk. And they were saying things that, one scientist may say to another without regard to how it looks in public. And that when this was investigated, it was found that, there was nothing to it. That there's no climate gate. It's all an illusion. And then you look, of course, at the past summer where we had record high temperatures in the USA around the country and more evidence of this. So I don't know. I think we're putting too much into that particular episode.
And the latest I've read on that, some member of the American Physical Society has sent a rather poignant letter of resignation, because he went into some detail on this as to why he was doing it. But again, that just shows you right there that science is run by people, and people, even in religious bodies, have fierce competition for whatever reason, and this is the human nature issue of stuff. If it's a political matter, and science can be just as political as religions can be, and therefore, it's a morass. I just say it's time to get back to the grassroots level, to people who want a change, who want a paradigm shift, and that Denver initiative certainly qualifies as a paradigm shift. So
I understand that. I can't.
If scientists want to join us, that's fine.
I understand what you're saying, Larry.
Yeah.
It's just I find it hard to take that seriously, because I still think, the press is going to look at that. If this initiative passes, people are going to say, ha, ha, ha. If it doesn't pass, they'll say, ho, ho, ho. It's not going to be taken seriously, and it doesn't help you solve what should be a scientific mystery. That's just my opinion. Larry Bryant joining us this week on the Paracast. Co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, ever thought about creating a website? With HostGator, you can create your own website with your very own .com domain name. HostGator has a free site builder and thousands of design templates to create your website today. Whether you want to create a blog, a photo gallery, a family page, or a website for your business, HostGator has the right plan for you, starting at less than $5 a month for ultra-reliable website hosting with 99.9% uptime and true 24/7 live support available by phone, chat, or email, and based right here in the U.S. Don't be left without a website. It's more affordable and easier than you think. Sign up at technightowl.com/gator, that's Gator, to get the lowest possible price. At HostGator, that's technightowl.com/gator to get a special deal on all their web hosting services.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realist, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the U.S. dollar index has tanked 30% while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well, free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
In confusing times, would a simple outlook on health and beauty make sense?
If you're tired of taking dry vitamins without noticing any results, then the Bogdana Nutritional Formula is for you. Easy to take and absorb.
The absorption of liquids is 98% in comparison to only 20% for dry vitamins.
For the past 25 years, Bogdana Rejuvenating Nutritional Formula has been proven to get results.
Detox, nourish, and rejuvenate your body with this one-of-a-kind supplement that contains 150 natural and organic nutrients.
And a
1-month supply is less than $1 per day.
Take charge of your health and feel the difference with Bogdana Liquid Vitamins or your money back.
Go to BOGDANA liquidvitamins.com or call 1-800-234-5608.
That's BogdanaLiquidVitamins.com or call 800-234-5608. Give your body what it needs, and it will perform miracles in return.
For inner health and outer beauty, feel the difference with Bogdana Liquid Vitamins today.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 5 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $209, and the Berkey Guy will include 3 sport Berkey water bottles and ship everything to you free of charge. That's right, 3 sport Berkey water bottles and free shipping. An $87 value, yours free. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
Tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more.
I'm told that it has everything.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com. Get in on all the action at forum.theparacast.com.
Larry Bryant joining us in the final hour of this week's episode of the Paracast. I'm Gene Steinberg, co-host is Chris O'Brien. Chris, what do you think about that ballot initiatives and stuff like that? Do you think also it has too much of a woo-woo factor?
Well, I can see both sides of the argument. I think Larry does have a point that, we really tried different approaches from different angles at getting the government to finally disclose the extent of their knowledge about this subject. But, I think this whole idea of a grassroots movement does have potential, but you're walking a real fine line, because as soon as you attempt to bring the subject into the mainstream in a political fashion, such as the ballot initiative in Denver, you do run the risk of the giggle factor, which, I think it's almost been detrimental to the movement and to the effort in Denver. I think the last figures I saw is there's only about 10% of people that are supporting it in polls, but having a person like Jeff Peckman spearheading this effort and being on Letterman and doing the mainstream media whipping post, I'm not sure if he's the right person to be the figurehead behind this. He's quite a fan of the Stan Romanek case, for instance, and does tout it as being, a slam dunk case that's proving that aliens are here. And you have to wonder about the guy's the depth of his knowledge and how well informed he is, having looked into the Romanek case pretty extensively. There's enough problems there that I would think that it's detrimental to use that case, especially like on the Letterman show and things like that. It muddies the water. It creates a larger target for the naysayers. And I think you need a level of gravitas that we haven't seen yet. I think the closest that we've gotten are Larry and Peter and the Cause Initiative. I think we need to really get a level of believability and gravitas that's unimpeachable in order for this type of an effort to work. And I don't see it with Peckman.
Peckman is a true believer. There's no question about that.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also intelligent and committed, focused, and he gets things done.
Yeah, but he's concentrating here on the Romanek case. We've had Romanek on the Paracast, and we don't believe anything he says for a moment. I mean, the evidence he produces is totally wacko, and maybe Peckman is sincere, totally above board. But if he believes in something that is just out of left field with no credibility, his credibility is hurt.
Yeah, that was my point, Gene. I think the exopolitics movement has been co-opted to a certain extent by the true believer crowd. You have, people like this Alfred Weber guy,
who's never made a statement that was accurate ever. I don't think.
Yeah, I think he becomes part of the problem. You have Michael Salla. You do have highly visible figures in the exopolitical movement that tend to make wild claims and seem to believe everything that comes down the pike. And I think that takes away from that gravitas that you need to actually be taken seriously. What do you think, Larry?
Well, it comes with the territory. You've got people who have a religious fervor for the subject, like Dr. Boylan, a trained psychologist who relies on channeling phenomenon to advance his agenda.
In hot tub therapy sessions.
I ascribe that to nothing but exercise of First Amendment rights, and this is what we get with the field. Anybody's a player. If they want to come on board, they bring some credentials or they bring some nonsense, whatever it is. There's no way to stop that. At one point, when in the old NICAP days, if you talked about abductions, you were automatically labeled as some extremist. But abduction research now has gained some respectability. It's a what do they call it? A continuum, where if you go from the left side starting point and go to the right, somewhere in the middle point, you can have a form of stability. But as you say, it's a tightrope we have to walk here to make sure that we don't fall prey to dismissing stuff out of hand, but on the other hand, not get so credulous that you look like a damn fool. I don't know how you solve the problem, but I think it's always going to be there, and every generation generates the same problem over and over again.
We seem to be making progress, however. I was actually quite surprised to see, for instance, CNN covering live the Hastings Solace press conference. I think that's monumental. And the news cycle stories that came out the following couple of days actually seemed like credible news coverage. There was none of the little green alien Twilight Zone theme asides that was attached to the coverage. And Leslie Kane's book, for instance, I think she's an example of somebody that I think has taken the subject and has applied a sufficient level of gravitas to the subject, and people tend to recognize that in the media, and I think they take people more seriously, and we're moving forward, it seems to me, with mainstream acceptance of the subject, and we really need to capitalize on this and not shoot ourselves in the foot by presenting legitimate research and legitimate thinking alongside true believer wackoism, for lack of a better term. And I think it's because of people like you, Larry, that we're even at the place where we are today for this subject to be taken seriously by the mainstream media and others in the culture.
Well, one reason I've been putting out these what I call UFO cover-up, whistleblower, solicitation ads, advertisements calling for additional whistleblowers to come forward and tell their stories to the public. One reason I'm doing that is to say to researchers themselves, listen, we have a way of seeking information, but if you give us the wrong leads, if you lead us down a path that's fraught with fraud, then we're not going to make any progress. And it's a side signal, you might say, to UFO researchers. If you send me an alleged leaked document or an alleged deathbed confession, I'm going to follow up on it, and if it falls flat on its face, I'm not going to be embarrassed by it. You're the one who fed the information to me, and what do you expect me to do? I'm going to pursue it as best I can, but if it falls on its face, the first victim of that event is going to be the perpetrator of the fraud.
I'll tell you what, let's get into that in the next segment here, okay, Larry? We have Larry Bryant, longtime UFO researcher. If you click on the name Larry Bryant over at theparacast.com where the show's listed, you'll go to his blog. You also have a direct link to his book. I'm Gene Steinberg. Chris O'Brien is the co-host. You're in
The Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Most people know that drinking pure high alkaline pH water is the most important factor in maintaining high energy and vibrant health. Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals. Using plasma pH drops is the best way to make your water alkaline to help you get rid of acid and regain your health and energy. Simply put 10 drops in the water you drink to raise the pH to a healthy level. Alkalizing water helps your body rid itself of acidic waste and increases the oxygen content of your body. Disease organisms like bacteria, viruses, and cancer cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops now by going directly to alkavision.com. That's ALKA Vision.com. Or call 269-409-1776. 269-409-1776 today.
If you owe the IRS money you can't pay, then listen carefully, because you already know that the problem won't go away by itself. You can get help today from the leading tax expert in the country, Dan Pilla.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. The IRS isn't going to just forget about you. Right now, the IRS is hiring thousands of tax collectors to go after delinquent accounts just like yours. That's why you need to take action today, and I can help. I take a simple but proven approach to solving your tax debt problem. First, I stabilize collections so you don't have to worry about wage and bank levies. Next, I build a detailed plan to get your debt reduced to the fullest extent possible, sometimes even eliminated. Finally, I work with you every step of the way to get your problem solved once and for all. So call now for a free consultation. Call 1-800-346-6829.
Dan Pilla will solve your tax problem, guaranteed. He's helped thousands of people, and he can help you too. Call us today at 800-346-6829. That's 800-34-NO-TAX.
Just what emergencies do I need to be prepared for? Terrorism, economic collapse, or the overdue big quake. The immediate time frame after any disaster when you may be on your own is critical. That's why you need a 72-hour kit from survivalsolutions.com. Our 72-hour kits have been researched, tried, and tested for 3-day survival. 72-hour emergency kits from survivalsolutions.com provide 114 essential items, including food, water, light, shelter and warmth, cooking, first aid, sanitation, and communication. Just add your personal items, clothing, and important papers, and you're ready for any emergency. That's 114 essential life-sustaining items. Order now and get a free Millennium food bar with each 72-hour kit purchase. Call 801-965-0777 or go to survivalsolutions.com. That's 801-965-0777 or survivalsolutions.com, home of the complete 72-hour emergency kit. On air, online, and on demand.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
You've entered another dimension. You've entered the Paracast.
We have Larry Bryant. Chris O'Brien's the co-host. I'm Gene Steinberger in the Paracast. And you made some interesting points, Larry, in our last segment. We got two more left for this week's episode. And that is, of course, exposing the fakers. Can you mention a few cases where you looked at the information and the evidence did not sustain itself?
I can cite the case of Caller Bob. A few months ago, Caller Bob, as he identified himself, called in the Coast to Coast radio show that George Norrie hosts in the late night hours.
Yes, we call it Ghost to Ghost here, and we call him George Snorri.
Well, George took the last call of the night about 3:30 in the morning Eastern time, and it was a guy who says he was calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is the home of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Caller Bob says that a friend of his had died and had bestowed upon Caller Bob a supply of 16-millimeter film, black and white, and vintage film apparently dating back to the 50s or thereabouts, and it showed, according to Bob's account, it showed Eisenhower and the aviation magnate, what's his name, back in those days, who had his own company, Howard Hughes, and Eisenhower were walking and standing around some debris in a warehouse-like facility, and apparently there were bodies on stretchers. So Caller Bob was really, he did a good performance because, it sounded so sincere and everything, and he supposedly left his name and maybe his email address with the producer of Coast to Coast AM for them to get their heads together and somehow give access to that film to Coast to Coast. Well, guess what, fellas? It never happened, as far as I know, and this has been months and months ago. And, of course, I prepared an advertisement to go online on something called classifiedads.com, asking that if there's anybody out there that can corroborate the case, please come forward, because this is, useful information that if that event occurred and it's been filmed, we need to see the film and have it analyzed, and we need to have other witnesses to see if it can be a corroborated story.
You know what? This is part and parcel of the legends we've heard over the years that President Eisenhower knew something about UFOs, met up with experts, and maybe even saw E.T. or saw the spaceships. Does any of that have any credibility at all?
Well, there's Art Campbell as a specialist on this subject matter, and you may want to have him on your show sometime. I think he's out in Oregon or somewhere there, and he apparently had, at a disclosure conference here in Washington some months ago, he had a whistleblower himself share the platform with him, and a former service member apparently had some secondary confirmation of Ike having been at a military base and been part of the welcoming party to the arrival of a ufonaut and his spacecraft. I just don't know how credible that witness is, but as I say, who am I to dismiss it out of hand? As I say, if you bring these witnesses in a court of law, swear them under oath, you've got to at least listen to their story. And why somebody would be willing to jeopardize his image, his career, say, in perpetrating a hoax like that, it dismays me to even think about it.
Well, it's not the first time it's happened in the UFO field, let's face it.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be the last time.
I don't think it'll be the last either, Gene.
Hoaxers come and go, just like true believers, and it's nothing you can do about it at this point. You can't change this social phenomenon of ufology.
I want to go back to something here. We were talking before, about whistleblowers, people who have innate knowledge, but then the other issue is government intervention. And I'll mention a couple of cases because there's a book out from Nicholas Redfern called Contactees. And he mentions the case of Orfeo Angelucci, one of the common contactees, where supposedly he met up with a military guy in a diner, takes his drug, and it's like an LSD trip. He's seeing all sorts of weird, expanded effects. We have the late Howard Menger, who I think died this year or last year, I forget. Anyway, Menger had the traditional contactees, the blonde Venusians or Saturnians or whatever they are. And then he says, you know what, I think that I was part of a government experiment. Now, what do you think about these people? Just making it all up, or were they parts of government experiments?
Well, the CIA did run some sort of LSD-based experimental program with maybe using some of... Well, wait a minute. There was one guy that apparently jumped out of a window in New York or somewhere and killed himself because he had been a subject of that experimentation. That's part
Frank
of the
Olson.
literature. What'd you say?
Frank Olson, yeah. He actually was working for Sidney Gottlieb in the Army Chemical Corps under I think, MK Ultra. He was actually a member of the team, and they pulled a fast one on him, and he ended up going out, I think, a 14th floor window in Midtown. His son Eric has done quite a bit of work in the last few years trying to get to the bottom of that whole case, and I do applaud his efforts to finally get closure for his family.
All right. It's not impossible that the government can resort to experimentation. For example, the Army, I think it was, inflicted some Jamaicans or some Caribbeans or somewhere along the way. They inflicted syphilis on them just to experiment with finding cure for syphilis. The trouble is they didn't notify the experimentees of what was going on, and this was a major ethical breach. So it's not beyond the government to go over the pale in their research work. It's unfortunate, and it has happened.
Well, how is your getting back to the whistleblower thing again? How has that project panned out? I know that you have been placing ads, and I think you were denied ad placement in some government publications, if I remember correctly. But how long have you been doing this, and what sort of results are you seeing?
Well, it began back in the mid-'80s after I had finished with that habeas corpus petition. I decided, well, I need to get corroborative evidence if I'm going to get anywhere with this approach. So I started placing ads in military newspapers, papers published by Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, wherever I could put a classified ad in the announcement section of the ad pages of these weekly post and base newspapers. These are government-owned newspapers that serve the interest of personnel working at the installation. And a few of the installations would publish the ads. But most of them said, no, we can't run this ad. And every now and then they'd say the reason is we're prohibited from running political ads. Well, sure,
so UFOs are politics, my friend, right?
Yes, technically it is a political subject. It's in the broadest sense of the term. But so what? Political speech is pure speech. It should be protected. And as I say, I had scores of these ads actually published, mostly in the National Capital Region by the Army's Pentagram newspaper, the Bowling Air Force Base newspaper, the Walter Reed Army Medical Center's newspaper, and they would publish the ads, and I would get no replies from anybody. But
I'm going to go into that in a moment, Larry. We have one more segment coming up. Larry Bryant joins us this week on the Paracast. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Our
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
What is a wind generator?
How can the wind produce power for a small cabin?
How can wind energy be stored and used during an emergency?
Can I assemble my own wind generator?
For answers to questions about wind power, visit windbluepower.com. Did you know the wind could provide your family with emergency power? It can with a wind generator from windbluepower.com. Learn how our amazing LightBreeze wind generator kits start charging a 12-volt battery and just 6 mile per hour wind. Or see the new Cyclone X2 dual kit featuring 2 wind generators on just 1 tower. And learn why schools and universities across the country utilize our products to teach about wind power and alternative energy at windbluepower.com. All kits qualify for a 30% IRS tax credit for residential energy efficient property. Enter coupon code RADIO for a 5% discount at windbluepower.com. That's windbluepower.com or call 800-976-0026. That's 800-976-0026.
In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, boating, tow line, shipyard, or decoration. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive a free 100 feet of 550 paracord. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
Go solar for cheap. Want to use solar power but the price is too high? Now you can build your own solar panels for less than $200 at 123cheapsolar.com. Don't laugh. We've sold over 45,000 solar do-it-yourself kits. Watch the step-by-step videos that even non-handyman types can use. We offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to 123cheapsolar.com or call 800-713-0486. 800-713-0486. Reduce your foreign oil dependency when you go green with 123cheapsolar.com.
If the cost of your prescriptions are getting out of control, you want to listen carefully to this. RxDrugCard.com is a simple, innovative program designed to give individuals the same purchasing power as large HMOs and insurance companies. As a member of RxDrugCard.com, you'll enjoy savings of up to 80% on all prescription medications at over 52,000 USA pharmacies, including Walmart, Walgreens, and Eckerd's. Don't risk ruining your health by using cheap, counterfeit foreign drugs. This program provides savings on safe, genuine, FDA-approved medications with low membership fees, unlimited use, no age or income requirements, and coverage for all pre-existing conditions. RxDrugCard.com is an absolute must for anyone who pays for their own prescriptions. Enroll today for as little as $4.50 per month at www.rxdrugcard.com and start saving immediately. RxDrugCard.com is backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit RxDrugCard.com or call 888-216-2461. That's 888-216-2461.
How do you spell hard-hitting talk radio? GCN. The Genesis Communications Radio Network.
This is the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
Chris O'Brien's the co-host. Larry Bryan's the guest. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. So you put up all these ads, but you're saying basically none ever produce any responses.
No, except that an employee in the building saw one of the ads, and he tracked me down. He came to my house and introduced himself and says, I saw your ad in the Pentagram, the name of the newspaper, and we got to be friends. We'd have lunch together, and eventually started publishing his own newsletter, UFO newsletter. And we still are friends today. He's still working in the agency that he worked with, and he's still interested in the subject. He just doesn't print a newsletter because newsletters, as you say, they're ephemeral. You don't make money off of UFO newsletters, so you lose money. You spend your own time and effort on them, and eventually you realize it's not worth the effort. And this is what happened to him. But at least one person of sympathetic response did contact me because of the ads, and I still say that it was worth the effort because I've created a network of people who are interested in what I'm doing. Online people who send me tips, they send me possible contact points and so forth. So it hasn't been a waste of my time, certainly. It's helped me in my writing effort. When you write an ad, and especially if you're paying for the copy, you want to make sure every word counts. You don't sit there and just dribble along with your verbiage. You realize that every word is costing you money, so you tighten up your writing ability.
You learn the gift of brevity. Listen, let me ask you a question here. You worked for the government for many years before you retired in the 1990s. Did your superiors ever come back to you and say, Larry, what are you writing about that UFO stuff?
Yes, they did. They didn't like it. They let me know that in subtle ways and sometimes not subtle ways. And at one point I had to get legal counsel because of the pressure that was being put on me by my employer, who did not like that ad campaign. They made it very clear to me back in the early 90s that, actually the late 80s, that I was persona non grata, and eventually I was able to be the first recipient of that agency's pension sweetener. $25K to go away. $25,000 they gave me to retire. I could have retired with age 55, but I was holding out until age 56 or 7. Eventually they came to me and made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and that helped me pay off my mortgage. And now I'm mortgage free, and I'm able to have a decent annuity, and it all kind of worked out. But there were some rough moments there where I was worried about my career and my economic status because I touched a nerve with officialdom. I wasn't a whistleblower myself, but I had the audacity to encourage whistleblowerships, which was just something that officialdom could not stomach at the time.
You were an enabler.
Yes, and that was, in their minds, approaching treason. I'm sure that's what they probably thought at that point. And but again, you have to do what your conscience tells you. If you know you're the only person that can do the way you are pursuing the approach, you have to keep doing it because your conscience says you're doing the right thing for the public interest.
Chris, you got a final question or two before we let him leave the building?
I just wanted to make an observation that, boy, I'll tell you, it takes some mental toughness to deal with that kind of pressure. And, hats off to you, Larry, for attempting to, get people to come forward and get that corroborating evidence that we need to be taken seriously by the courts and by the government. It's only when we get all our ducks in a row that we're going to be able to really take this thing a step forward. Well, Larry, where do you see the field going now? We talked about this newfound acceptance in the media. We've talked about the difficulty of getting kids involved and keeping them focused and not pre-programmed or front-loaded by the culture. Where do you see this going? Do you actually see a possibility of disclosure anytime soon, or is this just a pipe dream?
the best disclosure that can be is for landing on the White House lawn. But other than that, I'm hoping that some people in the know, maybe like 300 people that have the hardcore evidence at their fingertips, maybe these people, as they die off, will create what I call deathbed confessions, which they summarize their firsthand knowledge of the cover-up, maybe attach some documents to the confession, maybe videotape themselves as they read the thing for posterity. This is something that should be done every decade as these people die off, because without them, we have no progress.
You know, one thing, though, we focus on the U.S., and we know UFOs are being investigated around the world. So other than releasing sightings that present no further proof, just more of the same thing, why don't we see other governments releasing something? Or are all the governments complicit, working together to keep this a secret?
To some degree, they are all working together. They have alliances, you know, the NATO people, and then the Soviet bloc alliance and all that, and the South American alliances, and they get their heads together and they evaluate the desirability or undesirability of coming forward. But one thing about the future, with all the telephone, the cell phone photographs and videotape cases that UFO encounters, this is the element of non-control that the government has. When a guy goes out and videotapes an object hovering 100 feet over his head in broad daylight, that's evidence, and it's a compelling evidence because the government can't control it. And I see that technological breakthrough as being possibly the tipping point for UFO disclosure.
So can you pinpoint a date? Do you think it's going to happen next year? In 5 years? What?
I can't tell you. Listen, I've been in the field for 53 years, and there's been very little progress, except that the government, through the Project Blue Book stuff that's been archived, and some of the OSI from the Air Force, some of their microfilm material, all that stuff is part of the history. And it's sitting there like the Ark of the Covenant in the bottom of a warehouse, surrounded by other material buried there for eons, and we're sitting here talking about it and not making progress.
We're just about out of time here. Tell our listeners where they can find more of the things that you write about.
You can my email address is overtci, overtci at cavtel, CAVTEL.net. That's the best way to contact me. I welcome whistleblowers to contact me with any leads they might want to share. And all I can tell your audience is keep asking questions of the right people, because that's what I want to keep doing.
Chris O'Brien, tell our listeners where we can always find more of your stuff.
Well, I do have a website. It's Our Strange Planet, OurStrangePlanet.com. Of course, I do hang out from time to time as a moderator on the Paracast forum. So you might see some of my bad jokes and very opinionated thinking there. And, of course, co-host here at the Paracast, so keep tuned in.
Chris O'Brien, thank you for co-hosting another episode. Larry Bryant, thank you for being a guest this week on the Paracast.
Thank you both for having me, and check back with me in 6 months.
Okay, thanks for being on, Larry.
Okay, good night.
The Paracast is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.